Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome for joining us today during our Freedom Friday event. We hope that you're having a good start to the weekend. Of course, this is presented by Democracy NC, and we thank you, all of our members of Democracy NC, all of our guests, all of our friends for joining us on what we hope is a good event. You know, usually Democracy NC, we're out at festivals and things like that, but of course, dealing with COVID-19, we would try to plan something that could accommodate everyone but still be fun and informative. So let's go on to talk about the program. And then before the, actually no, not yet. So the program will talk about what is Juneteenth. Then we'll have a Juneteenth medley of different songs by Tajay Davis and Zaquan McNeil. Then we'll have poetry and spoken word by one of our actual Friend-Turn alums, Nick Corman. And then Harmony Granderson will give us a spoken word speech, something personal from her. And then we'll have one of our fellow Friend-Turns, Sydney Walker, talk about voter registration and also about Democracy NC and the purpose of why we do what we do. And then after that, we'll have a quick little viewing of Blackish about their Juneteenth episode. That'll be both fun, hilarious, but also informative and serious. And then after that, we'll have a discussion by different members of Democracy NC, and then we'll have a wrap up. Before we go into our program, one of the things I want to address is that we know that a lot of people are celebrating their first Juneteenth today because of the events going on the last couple of weeks in America. So I wanted to sort of kind of open the room for a moment of silence and remembrance of those who have died due to systematic racism, police brutality, and different things that sort of kind of underhold and are different people, especially our African-American people. Three people that I would especially like to bring up is T.T. Goli, Oluwa Toyin Salu, and then Tony McDade, because we have to remember and recognize that if Black trans lives don't matter, Black non-binary lives don't matter, and if Black women lives don't matter, Black lives will never matter, and there will be no justice, no peace until those are recognized. Let's just do a quick moment of silence for those that have fallen. All right, thank you for that. And now we'll go on with our program. So what is Juneteenth and what is the reason that we're all here? So Juneteenth is what we're celebrating today is to commemorate June 19th, 1865, which is the day that all that were enslaved were freed. Basically, even though we know that Abraham Lincoln passed the Emancipation Proclamation that went into effect January 1st, 1863, that took a couple of years for actually all slaves to be freed. We know that in the Emancipation Proclamation, only those who were in Confederate states, so people that were against the Union, actually got freed. So not every slave was freed then, so it did take a couple of years. So just to put it out there, I know a lot of people are thinking, hey, well, we know, is this celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation? No, it's not, because while, of course, it was good intentions and things like that, we know that there was way more to do. So now we'll watch a quick little informational video that we found that we thought would be interesting to watch.
Hey y'all, it's Lexual, aka Lexus Joan Day of Intellectual Media, and this is 2-Minute History. The Emancipation Proclamation was issued on September 22, 1862, while the Civil War was still going on, and wouldn't go into effect until January 1, 1863. Though the proclamation declared all slaves free, this wasn't immediate. In Texas, where there was no Civil War carnage, there was an influx of slave owners and their property by the end of the war. Due to its distance from the action and the limitations of technology, it took forever for Texas to hear about the proclamation. It wasn't until June 1865 when the federal government arrived in Texas and announced that all slaves were free. This was especially breaking news to slaves in Galveston and Houston, who were especially isolated. So slavery wasn't legally abolished until December 1865 in Texas. But June 19th was the day General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston and announced to the slaves that they were free. And the date stuck. The next year, the very first Juneteenth annual commemoration was held. It became a prominent holiday for local Black Texans. Black families even bought land to hold celebrations when racist whites tried to interfere. Juneteenth celebrations called for dancing, food, camaraderie, and fun. Fishing, rodeo, and baseball were also popular activities. There was a lot of dressing up and peacocking too. The early 20th century popularity of the event is evident by this 1919 newspaper in Dallas announcing the big Juneteenth sale. Celebration of the event waned as racial turbulence and world wars of the 20th century took place. Juneteenth wasn't a national celebration, but the holiday spread as more blacks left the South during the Great Migration. Juneteenth saw a resurgence in popularity after the Civil Rights Movement and was officially made a holiday in Texas in 1980. As of 2016, the only states to not recognize Juneteenth are the Dakotas, Montana, Hawaii, and New Hampshire. Happy Juneteenth!
All right, thank you for that. And I know our lovely Taylor Moss released a poll asking how many times have you celebrated Juneteenth? Can I get the results? Oh yeah, there we go. So 66% of you said this is my first time, which I am part of that 66%. I know many of us, we said that we've never celebrated before. We've known, of course, of the event of the history, but I think they were like, of any year that we're going to celebrate 2020, definitely is the year that we celebrate. So of course we thank you for that. We know we have some veterans that have celebrated this all their life, so we also thank them for joining. So let's go on with the program. So next we'll have a Juneteenth medley performed by two great people that I know, Tajay Davis and Zyquan McNeil. Davis is a rising senior at the best university in the UNC system, my opinion, and my alma mater, UNC Pembroke. She is a member of the a cappella group there, Vocal Harmony, and she also serves as treasurer for the UNCP chapter of the I always want to say North Carolina, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And also we have Zyquan McNeil. Zyquan is a rising junior at Claflin University studying mass communication. So while they'll perform different songs during their medley, they also made sure to include a stanza from Let Every Voice and Sing, which was originally written as a poem that they would recite in different schools, made by James Weldon Johnson. But it wasn't until 1919 when the NAACP national chapter, or national board, declared it the Black National Anthem. So now let's listen to them too.
We've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He's never failed me yet. Oh, 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 can't turn around. We've come this far by faith. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let march on till victory is won.
Yes, Lord, that was good. I was about to start reading the New and the Old Testament after hearing that. So thank you two for that. Next, we'll hear spoken word from Nick Corman. Nick Corman is a poet and spoken word artist from Greensboro, North Carolina. He is currently a graduate student attending North Carolina Central University, a graduate of UNC Pembroke, go Braves, and a summer 2018 alum of the Democracy North Carolina Summer Program. He uses his arts to address a myriad of social issues in addition to mental health awareness. He has worked to publish in Broad Magazine and is a member of the Detour Slam team based out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Hope Mills, North Carolina. So now let's hear a spoken word from our good man, Nick Corman, who has a shirt for every event. So of course he had a Juneteenth.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. My name is Nick Corman, and I'm a poet and a spoken word artist from Greensboro, North Carolina. And before I get into my piece, I would definitely like to thank and give a few shout outs to a few people. Definitely want to shout out Democracy North Carolina for allowing me to use this platform and to, reach so many different people from across the state and wherever you may be tuning in to from across the country. And I would also like to give a big shout out to my guy, Des Woods, my brother from another mother. Thank you so much for reaching out and making this possible. I love you, brother, and just keep on fighting the good fight. So let me get into the poem. The title of this piece is called Just for My People, and I hope you all enjoy. Being black in America is a blessing and a curse. But they make it seem like our only way out is on a sail or in a hearse. We have no advantages, just the cards we were dealt. They can't understand our pain because they never cared how we felt. Inequality runs rampant, and I'm surprised you don't see it. They call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. But the real question is, what are we worth? What's the price tag on a black person's life the moment we reach this earth? Black lives matter, and we have to stress that fact because I'm tired of seeing my people frisked and shot because they happen to be black. But then I keep hearing all lives matter. Yes, if you say so, but black lives are valued in America like the Mexican peso because whether it happens on video or in front of their mother, America doesn't seem to have any compassion if you want to kill a brother. It doesn't matter if I'm dressed like a brother with success because they'd rather shoot me dead than place me under arrest. It doesn't matter what car I drive or the size of my net worth. A cop can turn a traffic stop into my last day on earth. And this isn't a new problem because it's been here for a while. Some of these cops are more crooked than J. Cole Smile. Discrimination and prejudice is something that we really have to fight because even Stevie Wonder can see they ain't been treating our people right. The hate in this system is so real, I just want to reveal it. I could have written this in Braille and some of y'all still wouldn't feel it, but oppression is deeper than name calling because its roots have been forgotten. It was here before Jennifer Thompson was the one picking cotton, but everything is quite simple and painfully clear. All their hatred is a product of their ignorance and fear. They wanted to keep us at the bottom. They didn't want to see us succeed. They tried to bury us but didn't know we were seeds because we were once owned as property. Now we own property. We rose out of oppression, desolation, and poverty. Hands that pick cotton are now picking presidents, and now all their negligence has paved the way for our elegance. I've done all the research, now I have all the evidence where they tried to make black shame turned into black excellence. We're pioneers and innovators. We do things our own way. I love the month of February, but we make black history every day. We're an intelligent people, and you can't just fool us. We have scholars and teachers that date back to Confucius. We change the world every day, so it'd be terrible to lose us, and we were running empires long before there was Cookie and Lucius. Kendrick Lamar said we'd be all right, so stay conscious and stay aware. And if your melanin is popping, throw your fist in the air. Thank y'all once again. My name is Nick Corman. You can follow me on any social media platforms at NDC_poetry, or you can find me on Facebook at Nick Corman. Once again, thank you, Democracy North Carolina. Let's keep our democracy safe. God bless y'all, and happy Juneteenth.
All right, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. My name is
All right, Nick knows that if I could snap, I would snap for him, but I can't snap, learn things. But next we're going to Harmony Granderson. Harmony Granderson is a rising sophomore studying marketing at North Carolina A&T State University. She is Miss 910 Aggie and serves as a networking chair for Bombshells in Business. She is a native from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and she uses her social media platforms as a leader, historically Black college university advocate, and influencer for the younger demographic. So now we'll hear a piece from Harmony.
I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others. rather than to be false and to incur my own abhorrence. Frederick Douglass. I'm a product of an interracial couple and a female minority who struggled with expressing herself as a Black woman until going to an HBCU, Aggie Pride. The tragedy of the nation is breaking our hearts. We can hear the sirens. Growing up with mixed views, it was easy to always see the good in everybody because that is what my parents bestowed upon me. There are many young adults, teenagers, and even grown adults who have never been taught the truth about systemic racism. It took me 18 years of my life to learn to love myself as a Black woman because I lived in a society that forced me to always question who I was because of my racial identity. I grew up in Oregon, where Black people were the minority, and even then after moving to the South, where they were even more the minority, yet united and powerful. I grew up learning about the Oregon Trail, while students on the other side of the world were learning about oppression and slavery from the oppressor perspective. Now, I'm unapologetically Black. I used to go to high school, a majority white high school, where girls would tell me that I was a threat to their relationships because of the color of my skin. We signed a lot of forms, a lot of applications, and a lot of things about our racial identity. Job applications, internships, things that are asking for our racial identity because they want to know who they're hiring, because they want to meet their quotas. I'm not other. I'm not more than one race. And I don't mark Caucasian, and I don't mark African American. Society will always see me as Black. To those who would tell me I wasn't Black enough, I hope you see how easy it is to make people that understand to love themselves as is. Transparency is everything, and I know there are many biracial people like me who have been raised the same. Be comfortable in your skin. Embrace that. Wear your hair curly or in a fro. Learn hairstyles your white mother never told you about. Wear bonnets, try new things, love yourself as a Black woman or brown woman. Don't ever refer to yourself as a POC because the people we see created them for you and me, when in reality, they aren't comfortable with saying simple colors they learned when they were 3. One must change their heart and forgive themselves. I know this because I've changed the heart of many family members. I was just a baby when I changed the heart of a great-grandparent. My favorite author, Toni Morrison, said, "Freeing yourself was one thing. Claiming ownership of that freed self was another. Free yourself when you love yourself and decide that you will no longer tolerate for what your ancestors went through." Angela Davis also said, "I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change." God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I am, and wisdom to know the difference. Love all and see the good in everyone. Love yourself and see the good in everyone, and remember that it's okay to forgive yourself for old thoughts. Happy Juneteenth.
All right, thank you for that, Harmony. And actually, Garmy's going to actually join us and talk a little bit about what she made. Are you there, Harmony? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up today for this Juneteenth celebration. I want to thank personally Manny from Democracy of North Carolina for inviting me. I want to thank everybody who has showed up today, of course, to let me share my story and to be able to be the voice for others who might have similar backgrounds or similar experiences as me. I also want to make a shout out to Hall Pass Shop for this shirt and a lot of great HBCU clothing, HBCU Pride Nation, as well as support Black colleges and watch the yard. So I will put it in the comment box, and as I'll also link my Instagram as well, and I'll always be there to share a story, to be somebody that you can come to for advice and anything of that nature. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Harmony. And now, I know many of you may or may not know what Democracy NC is for, but I'll let the next person speak. But we got to ask you to register to vote and learn more about voting. So while we're having fun, we need to make sure that the main reason we're here is to advocate for social justice, and one of the biggest ways we do that is through voting. So now I'm going to hand it over to my lovely friend turn Sydney Walker.
Hey everyone, my name is Sydney Walker. I'm a friend turned this summer with Democracy Summer. And I just want to give you all a second to register to vote if you have not already, and also take our pledge to vote. So with the pledge, also these are QR codes. So you can put your phone to the screen and go to your camera, and you should be able to, it'll direct you to a website for the pledge to vote and also for the online voter registration. And by taking the pledge, you're pledging to register to vote, and also to help others vote. And with the website that you'll be directed to for online registration, this is a QR code. It'll take you to the site, and you pretty much can check to see if you are already registered. You can update any information like your address, and you can register to vote. And also I want to direct your attention to the quote at the bottom of the slide. It says, "Our democracy is sturdy, and yes, it still works, but it doesn't work if you silence yourselves." By Michelle Obama. Okay, we also have another QR code that will lead you to our website and give you steps on how to take action and play an essential role in our elections during the current pandemic. So you can also use this, go to your camera on your phone and hold it up to the code, or you can also use Snapchat. And it'll take you just to show you different steps on how to take action with Democracy North Carolina. And I also want to take just a moment to talk about Democracy NC and Democracy Summer. So Democracy North Carolina is a nonpartisan organization focused on the people, and it also seeks to increase voter participation. It started out as kind of like a partner, or it stemmed from an organization known as Democracy South, which began as a project and part of like the Institute for Southern Studies for over 25 years. In Democracy Summer, so I'll share a little bit of my experience as a friend turn. This summer has already been great, and though I'll be an intern for several more weeks rather, and I'm kind of just starting out, I've enjoyed working with Union County and just being able to see the impact that I'm already making with Democracy NC by just calling people, seeing if they're registered to vote, having people sign the voter pledge, and also helping to plan right now with my fellow friend turns a online voter registration party. So I've learned a lot just about how to advocate for voters and for better voting policies and rights during this current pandemic, while also encouraging people that their vote does matter. I also want to bring your attention to the quote at the bottom of this slide. It says, "We advocate for policies, not politicians. We've taken on powerful industries and politicians of both parties."
Thank you so much for that, Sydney Walker. We appreciate, like you said, Democracy NC. We are nonpartisan. We don't work for any party. We just work for North Carolinians, especially our Black and Brown and other disenfranchised North Carolinians, to make sure that they have the right to vote. So thank you for that. Democracy NC is a great organization. As a fellow friend turn, I am biased, so I think they're a pretty awesome sauce. So, if you want to help out or learn any other ways, or just learn how to get more involved and educate about the elections coming on, just let us know, because 2020, all I say is 2020, it's going to be an election, especially during a global pandemic. So thank you for all the, help and assistance you'll have. And yeah, just check us out. So now we'll go into our episode of Blackish, which is about Juneteenth. All right, great episode. So now we're actually going to have our lovely Taylor Moss do another poll real quick before we go into our discussion. Right. And while you're answering that, we're actually going to introduce our people that will be discussing the episode and are on our panel. So first, I'll hand it over to Lumiere.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been so exciting. So yeah, I guess we can. Oh, there we go. We can go ahead and get started. So I guess if you want to put them in the chat, I guess maybe Taylor or someone can read out some of the responses. But well, okay, people know what's up. Des, you want to talk about this really quick before we get into the discussion?
I think you all knew it was a trick question. But yes, it is 89% of you said no, which is the right answer. So actually, it was special order to number 15. I can't actually remember who gave it, or I think it was Sherman, but I may be wrong on that. But basically, it was land that was on the coastal part of South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia that was given away to freed people in that area. So basically, everyone who got that was in the area got that land. Now, of course, because of racism and some of it got stolen, some of it got brought for barely, pennies on a dollar. There are a few people in the area that still own the land. But just so you know that, 40 acre mules wasn't promised everyone. I know that's the thing that you hear. You're like, I need my 40 acres and a mule, which of course reparations is an important discussion, something that should be looked into. But I think if we're going to go into arenas where we're debating with people, to where we're having discussions, to where we're actually trying to advocate for change, we need to make sure we have the right answers. And I think a lot of things about just people believing that 40 acre mules that everyone was given it is something that we need to as an example of how we need to do research. Now, of course, that is because we have an education system that doesn't teach us our true history, where I think not, I went to a school that was majority Black, and we had an elective, the biggest elective they had on campus. But I know many of the schools don't even have even the option to even do an elective. So, our African American, our American Indian, our Latinx American, our Asian American history isn't taught. So that's one thing that should be changing. If you vote for the right people, especially your school board members, that can change. So we always relate everything back to voting indemnity. So I'll hand it back over to Lumi.
Yeah, thank you. So just wanted to kind of pose these questions to everyone. As funny and great as the episode was, it does kind of want to start a conversation. So we have these five questions. So, if you want to put in the chat box some general thoughts you had on the episode. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny, but also very poignant. If you thought anything was missing from the episode, it did come out a couple years ago, so it doesn't necessarily include everything that's going on right now. And so additionally, how do you celebrate Juneteenth? What are some misconceptions about the Black American experience that you've heard, or people have discussed, or maybe even you might think yourself and you want to get a little bit more education? And then finally, based off of the last few weeks of protest in America and across the world, what do you think are some ideas on how we should keep moving forward and fighting for justice? So I'm actually going to dip out of this presentation so that we can all discuss. Hello, everyone. I haven't seen your faces in a minute. So I guess, let's see. I can actually look at the chat now. All right.
I guess does anyone want to go first with, sharing their thoughts about the episode?
I very much enjoyed it.
Hello, I'm Kamari Lawrence, one of the regional managing organizers here at Democracy NC. My thoughts on the episode, I saw it when it was first aired, and I've seen it a few times since then. I really like it. My family celebrates Juneteenth every year rather than July 4th, but it's very educational. So I think it's great. It really introduces this date to many people.
Okay, I go. Yeah, I think it was a good episode. I've seen Blackish probably 2 to 3 times. I've seen Mixish. I know they made a new show on Netflix, but people were like, it's not good and it's not well written. So I haven't even touched that one yet. Can't remember the name of the episode of the show they have on Netflix. But definitely, I think Mixish was the one on. Whatever, I will get to. No, that's the one on ABC. I don't know, but yeah, I think a very good episode. I think there was some satire because like when they were saying like I'm gonna go what's that a white lady, and we definitely know that's something that definitely didn't happen. Of course, with Emmett Till and many other people that died in that same manner. So I think it was good and brought a lot of attention to it. And I think especially for a big network like ABC to like broadcast stuff like that was interesting. I know they got people are gonna be mad anytime you take someone off a pancake ball, they want to start a civil war. But I think it was good.
So I'll speak again. I'm Sydney. I really liked I would say the conflict shown in Black families and even like in Black individuals as they're trying to as they're thinking about wanting to celebrate Juneteenth. I know a lot of people are like, okay, but it's like, just like he was saying, it's whack, or just like Kwanzaa's whack. People don't, it's just because it's not as popular. I think a lot of people feel discouraged when it comes to actually wanting to celebrate it. So I appreciated showing that side and not just showing like one day Black people learn about Juneteenth and the next day they're like, okay, we're celebrating it. But no, it's like a whole conflict that people go through and families have to discuss.
Yes, absolutely right. Anyone? I think we got everyone. So we'll move on to the next question. What do you think was missing from the episode or something? I'll start off on that. I know a lot of people have been asking questions about, I think, the red velvet and the strawberry soda. So I guess maybe giving context to that. I know it's only, I think, 21-minute block, so they can only fit in so much. But I think maybe a follow-up would have been good with that. I also don't know the answer to that. So if anyone else knows the answer to that, because I know people are asking in the chat about that. Oh, Kamari.
The red velvet cake, strawberry soda, red food in general during the Juneteenth celebration is to honor the blood that was shed during slavery.
Oh yes, thank you for that, Kamari. Anyone else think something was missing from the episode?
I'll share some things that since I'm monitoring the chat. So Willette was saying that some substance was missing from the episode, and I think you mentioned that a little bit. It being 20 minutes long is probably why they can't fit a lot in there. But Kamaria, would you maybe speak on are there other like very specific things that are a great way for people to learn if this is their first time hearing about Juneteenth or attending their first Juneteenth event?
Okay. I just want to put this disclaimer out there. I earned a minor in undergraduate school in African American Studies, and I studied African American Studies in graduate school. And I'm a Black woman, obviously. I know a whole lot about this. I don't know everything about this. But what I do want to share for the Juneteenth celebration, and I'm basing this off of my experience living here in Charlotte, we have a celebration. This year is virtual, but also are some community events taking place. It's celebrating the culture, the Black culture. In years past, we've had African drum circles, we've had African dancers, we've had DJs playing music from today and years gone by. There's things that you can only get at a Black event. And I'm just thinking there's just so many things that I can't see this thing and that thing, but definitely the items mentioned in this episode you will see. But also, and what I really appreciate is sharing information about our past. History is extremely important to me and to my family and I, but that's what I like to learn about, because if you've all heard the phrase, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. And so it's so important that we share these stories, and they're not fictional stories. This is fact. I know in the chat earlier, somebody was sharing that Benjamin Banneker, he designed the plan for Washington, D.C. Things like that, people don't know because things like that are not celebrated. So I think it's so important that we're always talking our history. It is American history, but I always say this is Black history.
Thank you for that, Kamaria. Someone, I think it was Alice, I forget the last name. I know a couple other people have asked the same question, which leads into our third question. how does someone as a white person or someone that isn't African American celebrate? I think it's just, being there. I joked to someone, sent me a text earlier. I was like, send me $18.65. I'm kidding. Don't do that. If you want to do that to your friends. But I think just celebrating, going to the different events, learning the history. I think one of the most important things is to maybe not throw your own event, because I think one of the fears of people that I've heard from some people saying that Juneteenth going mainstream is like, I don't want to be 2 years down the road and be like, come to Mattress Warehouse for a Juneteenth sale, or like, the Juneteenth Honda event or something. Even though they want to give me a discount, I'll take a discount. But still, so I think just like don't over commercialize it. Go to events, go to spaces, and share the events and details with people who usually wouldn't go to Juneteenth events or Juneteenth. I wouldn't know about Juneteenth details. So I think that's an appropriate way. Anyone else?
I want to add something really briefly. I think it's important too to understand that if you're not Black or identify as African American, this may not be an event, or you may not get an invite to events that are going on that are about Juneteenth. So don't try to insert yourself if you're not necessarily giving an invite. I think it's important to know that this may not be something that is broadcasted to everyone, or everyone, come on, bring a friend. That might not be what people are necessarily going for when they're having cookouts or events on Juneteenth. And also I would just say, for those who are not Black or African American, use this as a day to educate yourselves, not necessarily asking your Black friend, what book do you think I can read? Or what do you think that I should do to know more about this topic? But to really use this as a day just to educate yourself.
Thank you so much, Sydney. That was exactly what a lot of people were wondering. So thank you for directing that. So if you are a fellow white person on this call, just know that you don't have to attend all the Juneteenth events in your area in upcoming years to know that you're celebrating it properly. I know that one of the, continuing to vote on behalf of, people who, voting on behalf of marginalized voices is an important thing for you to do, as well as voting with your money is something that we've been talking about a lot lately, where if you are spending your money at Black-owned businesses, more so than maybe you've thought about before, then you can continue to be a part of helping Black America build their wealth up from starting very, very negative.
And just on that topic, shameless plug, Eva Hong, one of our comms fellows, great person, she actually made a compiled list of places in North Carolina that are Black owned that you can spend dollars at. That's on our social media. And I think we can also send you a link to that as well. That's more than possible. And then also sort of kind of, you said something about spending dollars, and I can't remember what I was about to say. But yeah, I think we sort of kind of like trickled into our third question: how do you usually celebrate Juneteenth? Does anyone else on the panel have anything else to say about that?
I want to make a point. I want us to celebrate Juneteenth nationally, internationally, but I don't want us to treat this like we treat the February, like just these 28 days. Now you be quiet and go over there. I'm Black 365 days of the year. I am well aware of my ancestors that did build the country. So it's important that we honor and recognize this as something that's real, something that happened, and something that we need to recognize daily. I'm not asking for white people to come up to me every day and apologize for slavery. No, but treat me as an equal, treat me as a human being. And it is very important to me that you remember that this country is made up of many cultures, and this country was not created by the majority in this country. We know, and that goes into a whole nother history. But I just want people to be very clear that this is something that we need to honor and uplift throughout the year, and not just this month, this day, or the month of February.
Thank you for that, Kamari. Actually, quick thing I wanted to bring up, I actually remember what I was about to say. I know during, of course, the last couple weeks, like I've seen, the official Black Lives Matter organization. I've seen GoFundMe's. I've go see Bell Fund, things have hit historical amounts of numbers. And this is during the global pandemic. This is when people are on unemployment. This is when people haven't got unemployment at all. So this is when our economy has been at the lowest in quite some time. So I think there's a question that we as Americans and we as people that have money have to ask ourselves is like, are we doing this because we actually care about Black lives? Are we doing this for clout? Why haven't these organizations getting this money that they've gotten now 5 years ago, even in 2019 and stuff like that? So it's nice seeing people, donate, give corporations get money, but at the same time, haven't you done this before? So I think when we get into a better economic phase, when COVID ends, knock on every piece of what I have in my apartment, that it ends soon, or it gets, the numbers get stable, stay at home, and stuff like that. I think we need to just reflect and see like, hey, I guess can I give more time when things get better to more organizations, when things get better, and when sort of kind of like, I guess the clout of supporting Black lives, which hopefully doesn't end, but we know it's going to go fade away little by little, that people are still going to these organizations, people still giving money, people are still going to the city councils, people are still going to town halls. So I just want you to like reflect on that and think about like how during the pandemic, we've seen historic amounts of volunteering, protesting, and monies given to these organizations and to this cause. But other years when we had far better economies, we haven't seen the same thing. So, and I think we'll go into the next question. What are some misconceptions about the Black American experience? One of the first things I want to say is that it's not a monolith. I think there's a lot of things that people think, especially some of our politicians, won't name any politicians on all sides, so, nonpartisan. But I think a lot of people think like, they'll get one person to speak at an event or one person to speak at during a conference for like, and I'm like, I can't speak for all Black people. I have different things. I have different intersectionality of someone compared to other people on this panel. So I think that's one of the things that I want to say about the Black American experience is that we are not one monolith, that we are diverse, unique. I think America never says that there's one type of white person. They know that they're very diverse in different ways. They've grown up, experienced things, like learned, but we sometimes get put into this one little box. So that's one of the things I want to say. Anyone else?
This is...
and sorry, I was just going to say in the chat box, Faith said that a common misconception is that white folks think that they know all other Black people.
Are you about to go?
Yes, thank you, Des. I was going to raise a point about historically Black colleges and universities. I went to graduate school at Clark Atlanta University. That was the best choice I ever made in my entire life. Half of my family went to North Carolina Central, and my mother, she went to Johnson C. Smith University. One thing that I do not like, that I am often challenged about or asked about is, why'd you go to a Black school? The reason I went to a Black school because there were Black people working at that school, okay? There were Black people educated and informed working at that school. I learned so much about my histories in all of my classes at Clark Atlanta Universities. It taught us how to move through the world as a Black person. I feel that I know I went to a predominantly white university for my undergraduate school, which I do love, go UNC Greensboro, but it didn't teach me what America was going to be like when I graduated. When I moved to Atlanta to attend Clark Atlanta University, it gave me so much more opportunities to meet historical people. I'm meeting Coretta Scott King. I'm meeting former Black Panthers. I'm meeting amazing people my age and senior to me who have made change, are making change. I'm working in a member of Congress's office. These were not opportunities offered to me at a predominantly white university. I'm not saying those opportunities were not there, but they were readily available to me at Clark Atlanta. And also, I never had professors and staff members to love me, to share and want me to grow, want me to excel, to celebrate making straight A's for the first time in your life, to make sure you were in class, that 8 o'clock class with your 50-page or 100-page paper, and it better be notated correctly in the correct format. Someone to say, that's wrong, but this is how you do it. very grateful for what historically Black colleges bring to our community. And we are so honored to have these graduates of HBCUs who are not always Black people, but HBCUs contributing to our communities is necessary.
Thank you so much for that, Kamari. Anyone else on the panel want to discuss about this issue? This topic about misconceptions about the Black American experience? Once, going twice. Actually, we have a question from Malik, who I think this is Malik from my school. Do you think it's better to go to HBCU for grad school or based on preference?
I think you should go where you feel is best for you. I was accepted at Temple University, and I was accepted at Clark Atlanta University, and another university that I honestly don't remember where I applied. But when I got an acceptance letter from Temple, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I want. This is what I want. And I didn't feel that connection that I felt when I received a phone call before I received a letter from Clark Atlanta University to tell me that I had been accepted, and not only had I been accepted, but I would be getting a full academic scholarship, even though I'm not necessarily in financial need. When I was not in a financial need when I applied to graduate school, but they're offering money. They're also telling me that I have an internship with a member of the United States Congress. They're also telling me about all these things that are available to you at an HBCU that will never be available to you at a predominantly white institution. But you have to go, and I used to work in undergraduate admissions at UNC Greensboro. But you honestly, I do believe, and you must go to the school that you feel is best for you and that you feel is best in your program. Clark Atlanta is one of the top, if not the top, best universities for African American studies. But this is also not a Clark Atlanta commercial. But I go hard for my Panthers at Clark Atlanta. But I'm going to end right there.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Kamari. And one of the things I want to mention, I think if you know me, you know what I'm about to say, is that we hear a lot about the HBCU and PWI debate. I don't think it should be more of a debate, more of this conversation about, like, it should be based on a school by school basis, in my opinion. But I think one of the things to remember is that there's not just historically Black college universities, not also PWIs. There's also another category, which are minority serving institutions. These are some that are started with, I see my my president, Trey Hardison, agreeing. But these are schools that were started either as historical Latinx American schools. These were schools that were started as historically American Indian schools. These were schools that were just start for different people that now are different. I'll use my school, for example, University of North Carolina at Pembroke. We were started as a historically American Indian university. It was started in 1887 by a group of 7 Lumbee men and Hamilton McMillan, which is another dissertation. We have mixed feelings about Hamilton McMillan, but basically he went to the North Carolina General Assembly and started a university, and now it is one of the most diverse universities in the area. Actually, I think this side of the Mississippi, based on just racial demographics, it's sort of kind of shifted from majority American Indian to now majority minority, where I think African Americans make up about 31% of the population. So it's interesting, sort of kind of going to, like, you know, one of the things that I did was I was part of the UNC Associate Student Government, so going to both HBCUs and PWIs to, like, you know, visit, to have conferences, and, like, you'll hear different things. I'm like, Pembroke, we have a little bit of both. We have those little, like, groups. We have sort of kind of a village of, like, support. Our SGA, our organizations, our people that are leading the Greek community at our school are majority African American, but at the same time, we still have issues to face because we know that there's attacks on UNC Pembroke. Sadly, some internal from our administration, but that's another dissertation. So I think it's interesting, like, having those villages, but also having to fight against the same things that happen at PWI. So I just want to, like, put that out there, that there are different schools that are PWI and HBCU. I think both are important. I think both are, I think we shouldn't be doing this, which I'm not saying anyone did this. I think they were great questions, great answers. Nobody was disrespectful, like I've seen sometimes, but I think when talking about this debate, I think we should go look on school by school instead of just, like, grouping all PWIs in one group, HBCUs in one group, because I think they're all unique, all special, and students have different experiences there. So that's all I've got to say on that. Sorry, I'm in the chat. So I guess we'll go to the last one. Based off the last few weeks of protests in America and across the world, what are some ideas of how we should keep moving forward and fighting for justice. Now I'll pass the mic to whoever wants to go.
I can go for sure. Oh, sorry, Sydney, go ahead. Okay, yeah, definitely. Well, how should we keep moving forward is staying engaged. What I'm hoping for is that all of this energy that we have going on at the moment across the country, there's a lot of energy. People are out on the streets protesting, demanding justice, but I hope that it doesn't die down and everyone goes back to their homes and then they forget about the issues at stake. I hope that they stay organized, that they stay active, and like I see in the chat, that I hope they vote. Vote not only at the federal level, but at the local level as well. Change begins at the local level. So I'm hoping that people pay attention who their DAs are in their counties, who their judges are in their counties, county commissioners, city council people. I mean, here in Fayetteville, for example, the city council is under heavy scrutiny from the community, and who knows what their future will look like. But holding those individuals accountable is an essential part of seeking justice. Let's protest all day, that's great, but at the end of the day, let's go and vote, and let's hold these people accountable.
I concur with Manny.
From the chat, Kitten is saying that we want to go forward and push for positive changes, which Manny just discussed about with voting, but that also recognize that police are a huge problem and they're a very visible problem, but actually we all are, is what she quoted. So I'm assuming she's talking about white folks. So we are the bigger problem that need to work through the white supremacy culture and just, unlearn our history and relearn to be able to make positive change by actually working, trusting Black folks, letting them lead, that sort of thing.
I think it's really important too, just for everyone to find like what they are supposed to be doing in the movement, and not get caught up in like, oh, everybody's protesting, I need to be on the front lines too, when we really need people all over the place, honestly. So I think it's important, and I think that's how you kind of can prevent burnout, by not necessarily trying to go and do what everyone else is doing, but you kind of stay true to yourself, I guess, and do what you're passionate about. That's also helping to move the movement forward.
Kind of on that same note, finding your place in the movement, while protesting and doing all of these big, large gestures are important, and voting. You have to vote. Please go vote. Having those little conversations with the people around you are going to be really effective, because if you can, have a conversation with one person and then they can have a conversation with another person, it doesn't have to be you personally impacting 500 people. You can touch 1, 2, 3 people in individual conversations, and then that in and of itself can spread like wildfire.
Another suggestion from the chat is that Kim would like anti-racism taught in schools. So to be part of the curriculum, actual American history, not the fake stuff that we're taught right now, in K through 12 schools, a proper curriculum.
Oh yes,
I want to comment on what was just shared. Thank you, Taylor, for sharing that statement. Teaching it in schools is very nice and fortunate, but that's 8 hours of your child's life. It's at home is where this is beginning. It is at home where you are learning hate. You learn this in school from what we read, of course, but I really truly believe that our home, our community is where our opinions are formed. Whether we are in favor of it or against it, think about it. When you're growing up, everybody, but the majority of people, you're spending more time with the people who raised you, whether that's the people in your household or the people in your community or your church, your place of faith. So it's bigger than a lesson that you need to be taught every day at school. That's what I strongly, strongly believe.
One thing that my mom actually my mom is a teacher, and she pushes heavily is, while it needs to be learned in school, it also needs, like exactly what you're saying, need to be taught in home. And a really easy way to do that is, especially with young kids, get picture books and get books where the main characters don't look like you. Getting people of color, Black people, Native American people, stories that you can tell to children, but they aren't just, all white people. That's a really easy way and a really easy step to take in the home. So shout out to Kim.
Just to expand on those points. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't cut anybody off.
Please go ahead, Manny.
Just to expand on those points with Lemire and Kamaria, I know we touched on the aspect of the home conversations. And I was a social worker for, social services, and those home conversations are very important, and they do make an impact on the child's life and their development. But, I also want to emphasize the whole community aspect, and Lemire, you touched on this. Excellent. I think, yeah, having those personal conversations with your friends, with your neighbors, that's going to change minds, because if you and someone that that knows what you're about, can have a very tough conversation, you're more likely to change someone's mind than, say, a random politician in Washington, D.C. speaking about it. So, we have to practice what we preach. We really have to go out there and speak to people, speak to, our friends. And that's something that I try to do as much as possible. And it is going to be uncomfortable. I mean, we saw it in the episode with Blackish. And it's supposed to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. Let it be uncomfortable and continue the conversation, because that's how change happens.
Everybody go, Kamari? I didn't want to cut you off. Okay. Yeah, I would definitely, I think everything that everyone said is important. I look at education through a higher ed perspective, because that's what I'm about to start a job as in the next month, in higher education and student affairs. And yes, pat on my back. But one of the things that I've I look at different universities, and they'll be like, if I see task force one more time, I'm gonna flip shit. To be honest, I don't want to hear task force. I don't want to hear committee. I know committees are important, but it's like, are you reviewing your policy? Are you making changes? Are you making sure that your board of trustees, your board of governors for the UNC system, are you making sure that your administration, your professors look like the students you have? So I don't want to hear anymore. I think one of the things that we saw with the Blackout Tuesday thing is a lot of, even my institution, which I called them out a little bit about, when they were like, we're here, we're listening. I'm like, we've been talking for years, sweetie. Where you been at? Have you not had your ears open? So I'm done with hearing the listening part. It's actually time for action. And I think one of the things that we need to look at is do not lose the momentum just because we've seen things happen. In Kentucky, the attorney general was like, we're about to press charges. Man, it shouldn't take you months, especially as a brother. It shouldn't take you months to press, to even explore pressing charges stuff. But we've seen how people can impact things. We've seen cities that have made historic budget cuts to police departments to get put into social work, to get put into education, into things like that. So I think people need to know that one man can change the world, one woman, one non-binary person, one person of of different gender identities, sexualities, race, gender, can change the world. And I think we need to make sure that's limelight and important. So don't give up. Don't let it be on your city council. I think there's some city councils that are surprised that probably had two people probably from the media that have been at meetings, have seen packed out meetings, hopefully socially distant meetings, are seeing packed out Zoom calls, because they know people are watching now. So they know they need to be on their shit. I think these are people that have never been monitored before. People that, there's so many elections that happen in your local counties in your cities that go unopposed, because no one knows who Jim Johnson is of the city council, blah, 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 of District 3 is, because no one really cares about it. So I think it's time that we need to make sure, I've seen so many people they can name stats about the randomest basketball player on the Denver Nuggets. I don't even know if it's a real team. I might just be making stuff off the top of my head, but they won't know who their congressman is. We need to make sure that we give as much attention as we do to things that entertain us, to people that are actually making decisions. Because we've seen now with Ahmaud Arbery, with Breonna Taylor, that if we don't have the right DAs in it, if we don't have the right prosecutors in it, if we don't have the right mayors who can hire or fire city police chiefs or things like that, things won't happen. So you do have a power, and I think that, just don't let the momentum die. I know one of the things is we're sort of I think what a lot of these things we preach to choir, because I think a lot of us are on the same page, but I think one of the things is the best thing to do, which I think a lot of them have said about, doing at home, is challenge your person. People oh, grandma said something racist. I'm like, Tell grandma, that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. Because I think even though like she is older, she may not change. Some of the stuff that she says trickles down to other people. So it's maybe challenging your friends. Maybe she challenged things. It's uncomfortable to lose friends. Maybe because like I've pre-screened people now. I haven't lost any friends over this, but I've lost people before this, years before, and I was like, okay, they show the true colors, so I'm just gonna stop talking to them. I know it's hard, but also it must be necessary because we won't see change to those small things because sort of kind of snowball into bigger effects. So that's all I got. I think that's any more things. I know we're at the end of. I know we're hitting about to hit the hour and a half mark. Is there anything anyone else wants to say or yeah?
Definitely register and vote. As Sydney said, register, and vote. Check your voter registration. Make sure you are not one of the people that were dropped from the roll. Also, please pledge to vote, not now, but right now. Also encourage individuals to go online to the name correct. I believe it's the Poor People's March, taking place tomorrow and Sunday. Look at it online, register today, but it's taking place tomorrow and Sunday virtually. And this is led by Dr. William Barber.
Kind of like what Kamari said, like if you, some states, I think North Carolina's one of them, definitely Georgia and other southern states that even if you miss one election, it could be a random municipal election, you get sometimes automatically purged from the vote. So if you missed an election, you can't remember if you voted in 2018 during the so-and-so election, please make sure that you check your registration because you don't want to get there. You don't want to wait till November 3rd and they haven't changed the laws yet to where they do on-site registration. You're just like, crap, I can't vote. And 2020. It's 2020. I think that's all such a this. Please make sure I had to make sure to register, to make sure that I'm good so I can do absentee ballot. Even though I'm moving, I'm still gonna vote in North Carolina and stuff like that. But yeah, so please make sure to check the registration because it is important and vital. And please tell people in other states too. I know North Carolina has its own, bag of things going on, but please tell people in other states, your friend that may live in Georgia and Washington to do the same exact thing so that it can trickle to other people.
Also, if you are not already attending or participating with a Democracy in C coalition meeting, please check with your Board of Elections and make sure your Board of Elections are prepared. Make sure they're prepared for voting in this COVID-19 situation. I have chosen for myself to vote by mail. I've already requested my absentee ballot. You can do that now. And then you're able to begin submitting your vote beginning in September. But go ahead and make a plan. Have a party. We're on Zoom right now together. We could have a whole party, not necessarily a music and dancing party, but we're all submitting our request to vote by mail and putting it in the mailbox together. So it's done. And when we get our ballot in the mail, we're all completing our ballot and putting it in the mail together. Why? So that we know it's done.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that again, Kamaria. If you haven't joined our coalition meetings, this is a perfect way for you to get active or push for change after this conversation. Don't let this be the end. We're in the communities as well. I'm the Southeastern Regional Organizer. I'm based in Fayetteville. Kamaria is based in Charlotte. And based on the chat, there's people from all over the state. And the organizers of Democracy NC cover a wide area of the state. So get involved, let's get organized, and let's really push for change at a grassroots level.
All right, so it is 3:30, and I think all of our hearts and minds are cleared. So once again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on this Zoom/Facebook Live Juneteenth event. Hopefully this is the first of many that we do down the road. Knock on wood, 2021, maybe we'll be able to actually hug and see in person. I don't know if we're going to be hugging by 2021, hopefully. But yeah, okay, Kamari said no. But once again, thank you so much for coming. This was an idea that I sort of kind of just gave off a week ago, and they were like, yeah, there's something we can do. So first of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here, especially Lumi, Kamaria, Sydney, Lisa Rodriguez, Manny, who's I call him Boss Man, Eva Hong, and many other people, our friend turns, our executive director, Tomas Lopez, and many other people for making this possible. I think at the max, we had about 250 people. So, I think for a virtual event, one of our first, I think that's one of the biggest that's going on. So thank you so much. Thank you for all my people on Instagram, Facebook that dealt with me sending y'all direct messages like, please come. But yes, I think we're good. So thank you so much for joining. And I hope you all have a great day.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.